Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Dill. It is a Monday night. We are 6 weeks through the 2025 college football season. Look, I'm ready to stand in the paint. I spent the last 2.5 hours in the lab looking at schedules, coming out with my new college football playoff predictions. Now, unfortunately, these playoff predictions looking a lot different from what my playoff predictions were back in August. But Dill, I'm ready to stand in the paint because I feel pretty damn good about what we have in front of us. Before we get into it, as always, and the best part about this episode, hearing from you guys in the comment section, I know damn well the Georgia fans going to be on my ass a little bit. And quite frankly, Dill, I don't know if I necessarily totally disagree. That's the biggest question mark I have about this one, leaving Georgia out. But please let it fly. I promise you my feelings won't be hurt. And if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, without further ado, let's get into it. I think I have to start by defending my take on Georgia. Here's the crazy part about it. Me leaving Georgia out of my playoff predictions has very little to do about what's left on their schedule in 2025. In fact, Dill, I think the schedule is pretty damn gettable. But I look at Georgia and I look at what I've seen through the first couple of weeks of college football and say, what do you love about Georgia? This is not the same Georgia team that we saw back in 2021. Dill, here's a hot take for you right off the bat. This Georgia defensive line, is it even a top half unit in the
Well,
SEC?
I don't think that's a hot take. I think everyone who's watched, and you can look at the numbers too. It's not just me saying with the eyeball test. They're not playing like that, and you can tell like the teeth of this Georgia defense. They don't really bite like that, and that's been a real problem. Like you look, I mean, Tennessee was really kind of going up and down on the field on them for the most part. Alabama for the first half, like it looked very easy to march up and down.
They could not impact Ty Simpson at all. And Dill, I'm not sure if it got a ton better against Kentucky either. And then you look at the offense, and I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted you there, but then you look at the offensive side of the football, and it's not an anti-Gunnar Stockton take. Like, I think you can put Gunnar Stockton on a couple of Georgia teams that we've seen in the past, and they got a real damn good shot at winning.
If you have a good defense, this Georgia offense is plenty good. I actually kind of like the Georgia offense. I just look, is it like an elite unit in the country? Probably not. And your defense is playing kind of middling almost. So that to me is not a good combination, especially with one loss already on the docket, and being a team that I think is just going to find themselves in a lot of these games. Like the Auburn line being minus 3.5 for Georgia, like them only being 3.5-point favorites, I think that says a lot about where this Georgia team's at.
I look at that Auburn game. Look, I picked Georgia because I kind of trust Kirby Smart to beat Hugh Freeze. There are some matchups that certainly favor Auburn, Dill. Like, I look at Auburn's offensive line. What's their biggest problem? Protecting Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold's hold the ball too much. Like, we get that. Can this Georgia defensive line expose that? I don't know if you necessarily know. Then I do look at the offensive line. Look, I do love that they're running the football. I do think they have some difference makers on the outside. The offensive line is incredibly banged up. Like Monroe Freeland left the Kentucky game. You're starting two true freshmen on the right side of your offensive line. They're hanging in there. They're playing some damn good football. But you also have to go through an SEC schedule with potentially two true freshmen starting on your right side of your offensive line. I feel like there's just more questions than answers about Georgia. And I don't know if we've gotten a ton of answers about this football team. Notre Dame. Narrowly missing.
It's a top 10 football team, if we're being honest. Like this offense is really, really good. CJ Carr, one of the better quarterbacks in the country. Their offensive weapons, Malachi Fields kind of being the preeminent one, if you will.
Hell yeah.
I like it a lot. But they're going to be a real problem with their schedule. USC
about the resume.
Illinois did them no favors going forward.
Dill, it's completely about the resume. Because you just like, all right, every college football fan that follows this sport closely, just gut test, eyeball test. Notre Dame goes on the road in CJ Carr's first career start, loses narrowly to Miami, who looks like they might be one of the best, if not the best team in the country. And then they play Texas A&M. Y'all know how the boys feel about Texas A&M. Last second losses to both of those teams. I just don't know at the end of the year when we're having these legitimate resume conversations and you say, hey, Notre Dame, can you point to that win that tells you your college football playoff team? I don't know if they'll have that win. And that's a problem for Notre Dame. They feel like they need help from the rest of the teams around them to find themselves in the playoffs. But I will say this still, if they do find themselves in the playoffs, this is a very, very dangerous football team. Michigan at 11.
Yeah, this one I can't let you slide by. And I don't know what about watching Michigan right now makes you super confident that they're a playoff team. They only have room for one more loss. They are not like one of those teams that can go
Oh,
with three
100%.
losses. Like in Oklahoma
Yeah.
can like probably lose 3 games. There's some other teams. Florida runs the table. They can get in with 3 games. Michigan, frankly, you'll probably be able to make the same argument you do for Notre Dame with Michigan if they only have 2 losses, with one being to Ohio State and the other to Oklahoma. But don't you think there's a bit of a problem that they're going to be in too many games going forward because their offense isn't like playing the way you need to play to pull away from teams? Like they were in it with Wisconsin. Wisconsin is one of the worst Power 4 teams in all of college football. I know they eventually kind of seized on it a little bit, but for the first quarter or half in almost a quarter, that's a football game. That's kind of concerning, to be very honest.
All right. I listened to what you said for the last 90 seconds. I agree with some of your takes. Let the cake cook now. Does Michigan get into the college football playoffs with a 10-2 record?
I think they do.
I think they do too. And I don't know if I love it, but I think they do. I'm looking at their schedule. And this is a little bit of a schedule take because I'm kind of with you from a gut feeling test. Does Michigan feel like a college football playoff team? No. I will say this. I do think this is one of those teams that gets better as the season goes on, specifically when you have a true freshman quarterback. You go on the road and play USC. Dill, that's the game. If Michigan goes on and gets that one done on the road against USC, then I feel a lot better.
See, Washington's almost just as dangerous because Washington can score too. And I just look like, do I feel good enough about Michigan not having their scoring ruts at too much?
I think you're overblowing that. I mean, I'm looking at Michigan and say, okay, maybe there are some scoring ruts, but they're really, really explosive, Dill. I mean, they are top 15. And nobody's going to know this data. Now, I'm a Michigan fan. I watch every single snap of this football team on Saturdays. I was stunned by this stat. Dill, that they are a top 15 team in the country in yards per play on the offensive side of the football. Yeah, it's kind of similar to Texas A&M, which coincidentally is a team that you love. Michigan's ability.
I don't think it's that different. Michigan has far too many 3-and-outs in like stringing them back to back. It feels like.
Do we not see that from Texas A&M pretty dang consistently at times? And that's not a shot. It feels Texas A&M fans. I apologize.
I don't know. I look at the number of points Texas A&M scores versus the number that Michigan scores, and it feels like A&M scoring more points.
Yeah, that is fair. And Dill, a large part of it going back to the schedule, and I do kind of like the matchups on Michigan's schedule, right? Like, do we, after what we saw from USC on the road against Illinois, do we think USC can deal with Michigan along the lines of scrimmage? I don't know, right? Same conversation for Washington. And then, Dill, the rest of the schedule is on the road at Michigan State. They're a disaster. Purdue, at Northwestern, at Maryland, and then you finish with Ohio State. As much as maybe even some Michigan fans are picking Ohio State in that one, we all know how that game normally goes over the last couple of years. I think there's a lot better of a chance. I think a lot of people have that Michigan game against Oklahoma etched into their memory. I think the offense is
they need to like exercise that from our minds because I don't see how you can like be totally done with it. Like Nebraska, Wisconsin, those aren't quality enough teams to make me forget what Oklahoma did to them.
I do think Nebraska. I don't know if I love Nebraska's defense. I do think Nebraska actually might be a pretty decent team. All right, let's go to number 10. And I'm with you. Okay, let me finish with my Michigan. If Michigan goes on the road, beats USC, looks good doing it, are you maybe then ready to have that conversation?
No, not necessarily.
Then when would you be ready to have that conversation? If they go on the road and beat USC, I don't think they're losing any of their other games until Ohio State.
I'm just telling you, I feel like
I just
think they're going to be in more games than you want to.
Yeah, okay, that is. I think that's fair, especially when you have a true freshman quarterback. It's a little bit more volatile there. I 100% get that. Do they have the offense to consistently pull away from teams? Maybe still have to show us that. I think they got a decent shot here. All right, number 10, Missouri. This is one where it's like you got to circle back a little bit. You know, they're going to play Alabama this weekend, and we're still like Missouri has passed the eyeball test in a big time way. they still need to show and pass that eyeball test against a team like Alabama. We'll circle back to this conversation in a week, but Dill, I'm looking at Missouri. Let's just quickly compare them to Georgia real quick. What defensive line do you like more, Missouri or Georgia? I mean, it's crazy because Damon Wilson might be the swing guy. If you put Damon Wilson back on Georgia, we might be talking about Georgia being a top 4 team in the country. But I look at Missouri with Damon Wilson, with Zion Young, with the way Chris McClellan's playing, with Bo Prabula on the other side, with an offensive line that I really like. Missouri's passing the eyeball test. This is a team that has a gettable schedule. We got to start talking about this team making an appearance in the college football playoffs.
Yeah, I think when you can play offense the way I think Missouri can play offense, and you have guys on defense who can steal possessions because they can get after the quarterback, or at least I think they can. Yeah, Missouri to me is, and I look like, they're gonna. I don't think they have a brutal schedule necessarily moving forward. Like, I mean, Alabama is not like a team that I'm just like, oh yeah, Alabama's gonna dunk on them or anything. Like, they're gonna be in every single one of these games. I'm kind of with you. I think, again, like, before I really buy in, I'll probably want to see the Bama game, but right now I don't know how you can dislike
it. Feels like they're one of the more complete teams in the SEC. Like, there are a lot of teams in the SEC where you have certain questions. Like Missouri, where's the fatal flaw for Missouri? I don't know if there's one that's
we haven't seen one yet. Again, we maybe could.
Agreed.
I think the secondary might not be incredibly good. Like, there was a lot of room for South Carolina to throw the ball, and I don't think that's like the greatest passing attack in the world. If Alabama goes out there and really shreds them, then we probably start talking like, well, this might be a bigger problem than we kind of think. But so far, they haven't really been exposed at all.
Fair enough. Oklahoma at 9. There's so much
too low. Isn't this like too low of a seed for Oklahoma?
No. Like, here's the thing with Oklahoma, and the Oklahoma fans know I love Oklahoma, right? This is the best defense in the SEC. I feel very comfortable saying that. They have a quarterback when healthy in John Mateer that's probably the best quarterback in the SEC. What concerns me about Oklahoma is that schedule is absolutely brutal, right? And I'm looking at specifically the next 2 games. You got Texas without John Mateer. Then you have to go on the road and play South Carolina.
See, I don't know why you're talking about this. Like, this isn't the optimal time to not have John Mateer. I look at 2 offenses that I have very low confidence in scoring a ton of points with. And again, like, I have big questions about what Oklahoma's offense is going to look like with Michael Hawkins. If I'm like picking like a stretch of time where I'm like, all right, let's just try to gut a couple of games out, grind them out with our defense. It's against South Carolina and Texas, both of whom can't protect the passer and have quarterbacks who I wouldn't say are playing unbelievably confident.
My biggest issue, or it's not even an issue, it's just an observation, is, man, when you struggle to run the football in this conference and you have a couple of really difficult road games over the next month, even with John Mateer, right? They struggle to run the football. It's hard to win games consistently.
The ball gets out. Like, I mean, we've talked, you don't need to run the ball when the ball gets out really quickly. And with Mateer, it really has. And you keep talking about this like brutal stretch they have down the line. I mean, Oklahoma is the apex predator in those football games. Make no mistake about it. Like, not to use the Walter White line, like, they are the danger. Like, Oklahoma is the team that LSU is probably looking at and being like, I mean, they're going to be the team that's favored. I think.
I will say this about Oklahoma. You mentioned there's a select few teams that can get into the playoffs with 9-3. Oklahoma is one of them, especially if Michigan becomes the team that I think they maybe can become. All right, 8, Indiana. We did this 2 weeks ago. And it's like, all right, Indiana is going to go 10-2. They're going to lose to Oregon on the road. They're going to lose to Penn State on the road. The conversation is going to be, what do those losses look like? I still don't think they beat Oregon on the road. Going on the road to Penn State, Indiana might win that football game, right? Indiana's getting in there. I feel like 8's pretty dang solid. Do I have my question marks about Indiana when they bump up against the best teams in the country? Yes, I do. But they're one of those teams in a season of college football where I just don't trust that many teams on a week-to-week basis. I kind of trust Indiana to take care of business.
They're very different than Michigan in the fact that they beat the piss out of teams they should beat. Like, they do pull away from teams. That offense is really well coached. I think Mendoza operates at a higher level and probably gives them a bit of more of a ceiling, frankly, than they had last year with Curtis Burke. But this is a team that, like, they are opportunistic on defense, and their offense is really good, and it executes at a high level.
That is actually, I'm happy you brought that up. because what makes Indiana a little bit different? Why, if you're an Indiana fan, can you maybe have a little bit more confidence that this team can bang with the best teams in the country? They got a quarterback that is better when it's not perfect, right? Curtis Rourke was a guy that when it wasn't perfect and he didn't have a clean pocket and he had to be a little bit of a playmaker, he just flat out couldn't. I ain't a very good athlete, and I think I might be more athletic than Curtis Rourke. Fernando Mendoza, he's a gamer, man. Like when it's not perfect for him, he can make some things happen, which I think if you're an Indiana fan makes you feel better when you're going on the road this weekend to play Oregon. It ain't going to be perfect. Mateo U, Tatum Tuioti, Amari Washington, they going to be breathing down your neck, but you got a quarterback that can make some things happen. All right, number 7, Ole Miss. Very gettable schedule, and Dill, quite frankly, very good team. It's so funny because do I like Ole Miss's roster this year the way I did last year? No, not even close, to be honest with you. But it feels like this team has a little bit. I'll say this.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was
know
gonna
if I'm.
say, like, honestly, I'm not like ready to anoint them. I think they maybe are slightly overrated just because I think LSU is
Yeah,
starting to like be exposed a little bit. But
yeah,
I just look like purely at the schedule. I mean, they have 4 more games, I'd probably say, in Georgia, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Florida.
yep.
I don't see a chance in hell they lose more than 2 of those football
And
games.
Dill, even
They're
on
not
the
the
road
team
against
coming
Mississippi
through there.
State, like in that rivalry game, let's just be
Oh
frank about it.
no, they're gonna pound Mississippi State. I know
Okay, never
hypothetically
mind.
Mississippi
Yeah,
State
all
can
right. I
win,
know, no,
but
stupid
that's
state.
not
Hey,
gonna be a
hand
game.
up. My bad. Sorry, that's not going to be a game. Going on the road to Starkville for Ole Miss, not going to be a game. Chalk it up for a win.
It
Dill
won't be.
saying it, not me. I, and here's an interesting. Like Florida just remains this like
Well,
lurking team,
that's why
man.
I put Florida on that list, but, like, I just Ole Miss isn't gonna lose 4 of the 2 of the more than 2 of those football games. Too easy
Yeah,
to schedule.
yeah. That's fair. And what I love most about Ole Miss is like on offense. Look, well, number one, we don't talk enough about Pete Golden being like that guy on defense.
You
I
can
think
go.
we gave too much credit to the personnel last year, not enough credit to the schemer. And then on Ole Miss on offense, like last year was just like Trey Harris Verts. And if that didn't work, we're struggling on offense. We're stalling out. Ole Miss got a little bit more ability to run the football and get creative and has more answers on offense, which I like. Again, do I think the top end talent's the same as last year? Probably not. I feel like I don't know if more complete's the right way, but they got more answers. All right, number
Pieces
6.
just fit together. I think the pieces fit together, especially on offense, where you said it, like,
Yes.
they
Yeah,
can
fair.
run more of what Lane Kiffin wants to run, be a little bit more diverse. Because last year there was a problem with that, and I think their running game feels like it's better. I think Quan
Oh,
Lacey
way better
gives
than
them a
the
little bit more of a ceiling, frankly, in what they have.
100%. Yeah, it's such a weird team, man. I was so odd on Ole Miss, and I was so dead wrong. All right, Alabama at 6. It's starting to become a team that you're really trusting this conference, Dale. We left them for dead after that Florida State game. The offensive line to me is the story, right? It's just all of a sudden like we're moving. Here's the thing: Jam Miller looking like he's back, giving Alabama a run game.
He
That's
needs to
big.
continue to progress, like, but if
Agreed.
they can get Jam Miller playing like he did the past couple of years when he was fully healthy,
Yeah,
that changed because their running back play was god awful, it felt like, before he came back. I would like to see one of their, like, ancillary running backs step up a little bit because I think they've been pretty
yeah.
poor.
But I
Jam
don't
Miller,
know. Like, but do we need that? We need another.
you really need Jam Miller to play
Yeah,
like a
it's
wide
not gonna like
receiver.
you're running the football that much because Ty. Look, if you protect Ty Simpson, you keep it clean for this kid. He's going to carve you apart, right? And he's got the weapons to do so. That eerily feeling a little bit kind of similar to what Kalen Bohr is doing at
I
Washington.
was gonna
Ryan
say
Grubb.
they have that, like, really elite passing attack that, like, yeah, it doesn't matter how good you're necessarily playing against them. It feels like they
Yeah,
can move the ball, and that to me, like, you look, I don't know, there's some other teams like a Georgia. Do they have that type of unit that Alabama has on the offense side of the ball with that passing attack?
yep,
That to me is what's kind of starting to separate Alabama, or at least push them closer to
yeah,
the top because there's some flaws for sure. Like we jump on Georgia's D line. I don't think Alabama's defensive line is incredibly good, but
yeah.
they
What a
really
world,
have
man.
an alpha or an apex predator, I should say, in what they're doing
Apex
on
Predator count, I
you
think
know,
up to
that's like in my
3 for
mind
Dill.
now.
That is, I
But
like
that's
it.
what Alabama's offense is. It
Co-
is awesome.
Coming here on a Monday night with a little bit of an edge, I kind of dig it, and I'm with you. Again, it's the offensive line finding that consistency because like they didn't look they kind of got beat up against Florida State, and then all of a sudden this offensive line is looking really good. If they can, and that's hey, as much as we said Missouri is a test for or Alabama is a test for Missouri, you say the same thing for Alabama. Can you go on the road here and block up some of the best edge rushers in this conference, because if you do, I'll buy some more stock in Alabama. Ain't no problem about it. Texas Tech at 5. Here's my question for you. If Texas Tech goes undefeated and the SEC champ has 2 losses, does Texas Tech get the bye?
No, never. The Big 12, the Big 12, unless you go and play a big time SEC or Big 10 team, should never be considered, because it's such a different like level of football. Like BYU would be a bottom half team in the Big 10, no doubt about it in my mind. They're one of the best teams in the Big 12. So that to me is like, it just shows you how different of a world it is. Big 10 versus Big 12 and Big 12 versus SEC. Texas Tech, like, yeah, I like that team. I like that David Bailey is like a first round draft pick kind of level guy. I think you need that on your defensive line. I just like talent to talent. Are they really like a premier Big 10, big or SEC team, I should say?
Yeah, I would have look, am I going to get up there and bang the table for Texas Tech to get it? Like, say Texas A&M goes 10-2, wins the SEC championship. Am I going to bang the table for an undefeated Texas Tech team to get the bye? No, probably not. I do think people need to put a little respect on Texas Tech, though, because I do think this is a team that can bang when they get
Do
into
you
the
really
playoffs.
think like their lines of scrimmage are like close to like the cream?
Just watch them go on the road and play Utah really
Don't
damn
give
tough.
me you're 5 years behind on Utah. I know I've probably said this to you a million times, but like Utah isn't what they were when they were beating up Mario Cristobal's Oregon teams, and we were like, oh, look at this Utah big physically imposing line. They're not going to have like kids get drafted. Maybe Spencer Fana is going to get drafted.
Buddy, yeah, both those tackles are going to get drafted.
I don't know, man. I was not wowed by that group. I think I just look like they're not that same.
I don't think you were wowed by Utah
over 4 times, and they like couldn't even.
I don't think you were wowed by Utah because Texas Tech looks so damn good.
We'll see.
Do you agree? They're probably going to be the 5th seed, maybe even the 4th seed, though, because I don't think they can we agree on this at least? I feel like are they clearly the best team in the Big 12?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I just don't think that means anything. I don't think the Big 12 is a good league.
Okay. Do you think Texas Tech has a chance to do some damage in the playoffs?
Not really.
All right.
I still look like when you recruit I know they've poured a lot of guys in, but like we harp on these other teams, and when they go play the big boys, it's like the portal teams just don't look the same. I do think that is kind of Texas Tech.
All right, Texas A&M. At least we can get to some agreements here.
Yes.
Are they the best team in the SEC?
100%.
You are a very confident guy here on a Monday night. I like it. I'm not saying 100%, but I'll say this. To me, they look like the most complete team in the SEC right now.
To me, it's Oklahoma's next, and I don't know. I think Oklahoma, like there are things about Oklahoma, especially on the offense side of the ball, and like what their ceiling is offensively. I mean, they can't be explosive like A&M. A&M's defense starting to come alive a little bit, which is starting to like reformulate my opinion. I think A&M, like from just a pure completeness factor, offensive line, defensive line, secondary is really playing pretty well. And then Marcel Reed and that passing attack, that fits like a glove. I love this A&M team.
I do too. And to me, the storyline is the way Mike Elko has this defense humming the last couple of weeks. Right? They monster step, and talk about some of the best pass rushers in this league. You can make the argument Cassius Howell is the best edge rusher in the conference right now.
Monster.
All right. Oregon at 3, Miami at 2.
You could give me these 3 teams in any different order, and I'd be fine with it. But they're the 3 best teams in college football. I think A&M's poking right against them, and I think they're getting there.
Yep.
But right now, I still think there's a little separation.
Yep. I agree. Those 3 teams are so complete, have top end NFL dudes. There are, and I'll say this: Julian Sam played some. I know it was against Minnesota. That was some. He was
some pretty deep balls. That's all.
He was slinging the pill. Unfortunately. All right. We'll pause it there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.